Hi everyone, and welcome to Jane Talks Murder, where I'll be talking about and reviewing an episode of Poirot, Murder, She Wrote, Diagnosis Murder, or Jonathan Creek. Today, I'm looking at Diagnosis Murder, Flashdance with Death. Or as I like to call it, that time Mark Sloan danced someone to death. The episode begins at a dance studio where everyone is really peppy and this shirt is a choice. An argument breaks out over the selling of the place, and does this woman only wear clothes that blend in with the tapestry? Things get very intense between Sammy and Ronald, and Sammy foreshadows Ronald's death. So Cindy books it out of there. Oh hey Steve, you wanna not eat her face? That night, Ronald interrupts a burglary, and the next day, Steve brings Sammy in, having injured him playing basketball, which puts pay to him dancing at the benefit the next night. There is always a benefit. Mark says he knows the routine, and Sammy complains to Mark about the sale of the studio and asks him to fill in for him in the routine. Yes! I love it when Dick Van Dyke dances. This angry dude marches in and drags this lady Shannon away. Maybe he saw Showgirls. And Sammy rocks up with 2 canes for the routine that have just been repaired. And rehearsals get underway. And it's pretty good, until Ronald's cane electrocutes him at the end. I don't think that was supposed to happen. Mark starts CPR, but nope, he's dead. The cane deliberately sabotaged to fuck with his pacemaker. And Steve gets a phone call that Sammy has been arrested. But it's clearly Cindy though, right? Steve's girlfriends are always nut jobs. Sammy in the slammer says he's innocent, so Mark blames the repair shop. But that's dumb, so it had to be someone in the studio. Someone like Cindy, perhaps? Barbara is pretty blasé about the whole thing and says she's not going to sell the studio and that her husband was a dick. So Mark accuses her and she points him in Cindy's direction. Thank you! The repair guy and his goat head twin is rather salty, and Jack pokes around. Eek! What is that? Aw, puppums! Mark's watch has stopped and he goes to see Cindy, who asks for help with her routine, which involves grinding up against him, and she admits that her and Roland used to be lovers and points him in the direction of Shannon's father, who apparently hated Roland. Jack is still stuck with the dog, so Amanda springs him loose and they report back to Mark that no one could have broken in.
Well, there's a huge Doberman just dying to say hello to you.
And Mark theorizes out loud, not realizing the other two have buggered off. Mark falls asleep on what looks like a friend's set before being called in to see Dr. Thatcher, who is a stroppy ass face. And Steve complains to Mark that he's been questioning Cindy, who Mark insists has a motive, but Steve is apparently her alibi. Mark gets a call from Amanda, who he meets at a strip club, because she's been following Dr. Thatcher, who drags Shannon off stage, or at least tries to. It doesn't go well. Mark and Steve go back and talk to the repair guy, who admits he could have missed someone tampering with the cane while he was filing something away. And Steve discovers Barbara was in the shop round the same time to drop off shoes. Steve looks like a sad puppy, but says it's nothing, and Amanda reports that Ronald's pacemaker was magnetized, hence why a shock shut it down, and Mark's watch stopped. The police come for Barbara while Steve questions Cindy about her shoes, and Mark obviously sets a trap loudly in front of her, so of course she breaks into Barbara's office in the dark. But surprise, bitch! Mark says it was her that dropped off the shoes and signed Barbara's name and tampered with the cane, so she tries to run, but of course Mark brought back up. She breaks down crying as Steve arrests her. See? Told you. He needs to stop sticking his dick in crazy. And the dance studio is saved. Yay! Oh, Steve, when will you ever learn? I don't know who's more unlucky in love, him or Brady Fletcher in Murder, She Wrote. Watch the show enough and you'll catch on that Steve never has a nice, normal girlfriend. That aside, this episode is a little unusual. Normally in these kinds of shows, the most unlikable person in the room gets offed. But aside from wanting to sell the dance studio, Roland didn't come across all that badly. It was only after his death that it came out that he was an asshole. But that was nothing compared to Dr. Thatcher and his batshit crazy behaviour. I'm pretty sure doctors aren't supposed to hit their patients. And honestly, him, Shannon and their side plot seemed kind of unnecessary. And speaking of unnecessary side plots, I didn't even even mention Mark's runaway patient with narcolepsy who kept stressing Norman out because it didn't connect to anything at all. The method of murder was what makes this episode stick out in my mind enough to cover it. It was kind of clever, but what was with the repair shop guy? He seemed unnecessarily sinister, and he also kept sniffing and wiping his nose, which I was sure was going to be a plot point, but no, it was either a weird acting choice or the poor actor had the flu or something while he was filming, which would explain the whole thing. The best part of the episode was Dick Van Dyke dancing, which is always a joy. In fact, Google him dancing Step in Time with Derek Hough. Aged 92 or something, it's an absolute delight. We have one victim, Roland Spear, which kind of sounds like a porn star name, who was electrocuted by his prop cane, which fucked his pacemaker, all set in motion by our killer, Cindy Martin, who did it because she was just kind of mad at him? Okay then. So there you have it. That was Flashdance with Death. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, or come say hi on social media. If you enjoyed this video, then please hit that like button, it really does mean a lot, or consider subscribing if you want more videos like this one. Alternatively, feel free to check out my other YouTube channels. Thank you so much for watching, I'll speak to you soon, and keep an eye out for clues.